Hello everyone, this is Mr. Lipchick, and our discussion today will be about public goods, externalities, and market failures. Okay, what are public goods? A public good is defined as a shared good or service for which it would be inefficient or impractical to 1. Make consumers pay individually, and 2. Exclude non-taxpayers. Examples of public goods include roads, public parks, and police services. When deciding if something should be a public good or a service, 1. The benefit to each individual must be greater than the cost each would have to pay if it were privately purchased. And 2. The total benefits to society are greater than the total cost. Imagine, if you will, if we had to pay the police each time they came to solve a crime. That would be impractical. Many people would have, there would be many unsolved crimes, so the total benefits to society outweigh the total costs. Public goods are financed by something called the public sector. And the public sector is defined as part of the economy that involves transactions of the government. The private sector is the part of the economy that involves the transactions of individuals and businesses. The private sector has little incentive to produce public goods. Usually the goods are on such a scale and there is so little profit to be made that there is no incentive for them to be provided privately. Although in some circumstances this has begun to change with modern technology. Okay, a market failure. A market failure is a situation in which the market does not distribute resources efficiently, and frequently public goods are market failures in some respects. In cases of market failures, goods and services are distributed more efficiently if done through single providers, such as monopoly, or as public goods through the public sector. Some examples of market failures. In the early days of telephone service, each company had its own phone lines, and as you can see on the right, it was unsightly and very dangerous. Eventually, city skylines were jumbled with wires, and because multiple companies were impractical, a single company was eventually used, and that became Bell Telephone. Many of your parents will remember Bell Telephone. You will probably not remember them. Today, with fiber optics, multiple companies can use a single line, so we've once again opened up the market to different providers. Okay, with public goods, there is something called the free rider problem. Someone who would not, and the free rider is somebody who would not choose to pay for a certain good or service, but would get it anyway if it were provided as a public good. So basically, the free rider is unwilling to pay for something, but has to pay for it and uses it anyway. Free riders are also examples of market failures. An example, a person is unwilling to pay for a new public park, but would use it if it were built. It is inevitable with public goods that you will have some degree of a free rider problem, just because of the sheer size of it. The importance when making the economic decision as to whether or not to implement this public service or project is, will the free riders be so large that it's an inefficient use of public resources? Okay, along with the free rider problem, you have in economics something that applies to public and private transactions, and this is something called an externality. An externality is an economic side effect of a good or a service that generates benefits or cost to someone other than the person deciding how much to produce or consume. So it's a side effect that somebody outside of the transaction, the economic transaction, experiences, and it can be positive or negative. And it is an inefficiency. That is something that economists will seek to minimize. Positive externalities are beneficial side effects to people who do not pay for a good or a service. An example, you spend time and effort taking care of your house and yard, creating a higher property value for your neighbors. Your neighbors let their property go, but because your property looks so good, it has a positive impact on your neighbors. Okay, this is a positive externality that they enjoy, and there's no real way to contain it. There are also negative externalities. These are costs that are paid for by an economic decision made by someone else. An example, a company decides that it will be cheaper to dump its sewage into a public lake, causing local residents the cost of being unable to enjoy the lake for recreation. Government will seek to minimize these negative externalities. Okay. In reality, the company should be exercising pollution controls, which are probably very expensive, and the cost of its pollution should fall on the company, not the community. So the government encourages the creation of positive externalities and works to eliminate negative externalities. Public education is an example of a program encouraged by government that produces positive externalities. While it directly benefits children, it also leads to greater productivity in the workplace. It also lowers crime and has a number of other externalities that benefit the entire community. Acid rain is an example of a negative externality the government tries to eliminate. It forces companies to use environmental controls in order to reduce this pollution, placing the cost of production back on the company instead of the environment, which is a good that we all enjoy. Okay, so to review, public goods and services that are shared when it is, public goods are goods and services that are shared when it is impractical to make consumers pay individually or to exclude non-payers. Market failures are situations where the market does not distribute goods and services efficiently. Market failures include externalities, which are unintended consequences of an economic decision. And externalities can be positive or negative. Government works to maximize positive externalities and minimize negative externalities when it comes to public goods. Okay, that concludes our presentation. I appreciate your attendance, and I look forward to seeing you in the live lesson. Have a great day.